An elderly couple in Cyprus was being forced to sell their home after the HOA hit them with a lawsuit for feeding the ducks in the neighborhood.
On June 9th, her HOA stopped sending letters and instead slapped her with a lawsuit.
They're just a lot of very hateful type people that do not like ducks. And
love them or hate them, HOAs are a significant part of the new construction in the suburban neighborhoods across Houston. This story might sound extreme, but it is definitely a stark reminder of just how crazy and unexpected some of the HOA rules can actually be. So today I'm going to go through the 8 main points that some people might not expect with the Texas HOAs. We'll start with what every homeowner dreads, and that is the fees associated with the Homeowners Association. For a typical master plan community in the Houston suburbs, the average is about $1,200 to $1,500 annually. These base fees are typically used to help the community and enhance the community. These fees go towards the upkeep of the pools, the club centers, the community areas, walking trails, parks, and then they're also used for community events and security and surveillance of the neighborhood if that's part of your HOA. It's also worth noting that HOA fees are not set in stone. So if you purchase a house within an HOA, those fees are subject to go up or down. Usually it's by a board vote, but just keep in mind that the HOA fees are subject to change with all the communities. But what a lot of homeowners are not aware of, or they forget until it's time to go sell their house, is that there's also a lot of special assessment, or what I like to call hidden fees within the HOA. A lot of homeowners here in our master plan communities can be a little thrown off when it goes time to sell your house within that master plan community. There's usually something called a founder's fee or a foundation fee, and that's usually a small percentage of your home sale price goes back to the HOA. On average here in Houston, it can be anywhere from 0.25% all the way up to 1% of the sales price goes back to the HOA. In addition to that, there is also fees to transfer the HOA over to a new owner and for the title company to do a search to make sure that there's no liens or fines against the current owner before the new owner takes over. And those fees can range anywhere from $50 and I've seen recently as high as $550 for the buyer to access that information, which just seems so extreme. Also, a lot of these master plan communities sell themselves on all these community events and classes and workout things and fitness groups and all these things that you can get involved with, kids camps, but typically that's an additional fee to your HOA assessment fees to live within that community. So the enhanced amenities are an additional fee. Number 3 is rental and investment properties with HOAs and developments here. It's actually kind of a good thing in my opinion, but a lot of HOAs have rules on investors and rental properties within the master plan communities. Typically, short-term rentals are prohibited within a lot of our master plan communities here, as well as builders being able to sell to investors. Typically, especially when a master plan community is just starting, they want you to live within that house for at least 1 year before you can rent it out. Technically, there's no nobody's going to kick you out of your house if you end up renting it right after you purchase it, but they definitely try to focus on only selling to people who are going to use it as their primary residence. So in a nutshell, when it comes to rentals and investments with HOAs, they usually do not want short-term rentals, they do not want investors, and they do not want you purchasing multiple properties within one community. Number 3 is the landscaping rules. This also throws a lot of new homeowners off when they get into a new master plan community with an HOA. A lot of plants and gardening is prohibited within master plan communities. Usually they have a master list of plants and trees and shrubs that are allowed within the community, and then an even longer list of things that are not allowed within the community. The reasoning I've heard of this is that if you plant an apple tree and the wind blows the seeds into your neighbor's yard or into the common areas, then there's going to be a bunch of apple trees that are not part of the HOA and it can just cause problems. But for a lot of people, they are like, why can't I plant or garden within my own backyard? It just seems really weird. But I'm just warning you now, if you're going to buy in an HOA, make sure you check the HOA rules on the types of plants that you are allowed in your front and backyard. Number 4 is architectural rules. This is another big one that a lot of people have a hard time understanding, especially when it comes to making changes within your backyard. Of course, you would think like extending your patio or your house or installing a pool. Yes, you would have most people understand that that's going to involve some HOA approval, but what a lot of people don't realize is that you're also going to need approval if you're going to put a play set in your backyard, or a trampoline, or a raised garden bed, or a shed, or a doghouse. All these little things in your backyard, typically, especially if you can see your backyard from any common spaces, is going to need HOA approval. So they're very, very strict on changes to even your own backyard. Which brings me to number 5, which is holiday events and decorations. A lot of the HOAs here in the master plan community are very strict on when you can put up your holiday decorations, and especially strict on when you can take them down. So you usually have about 30 days before the holiday and 30 days after the holiday to remove those decorations. Same with if you're going to have an event or a party at your house, you have to get pre-approval sometimes, especially if there's going to be a little bit of noise, or you're going to put some sort of like bounce house or structure within your front or backyard. You have to get HOA approval. Number 6 is amenity usage rules. Most HOAs have really strict access to the amenities, which is a good thing since you pay a lot of money for the upkeep of those amenities. You don't just want anybody using them. However, some people get really frustrated that if they want to have friends or guests come to the amenities, that some HOAs do not allow that, or they are very, very strict about it. Some of them have reservation systems, which can get really overcrowded, and then people are upset that they're paying HOA fees and they can't even use the amenities when they want to use them. There's also a lot of problems that people have where they're not expecting that some of the parks and walking trails and basketball courts and things are open to the public, or the public can technically use them. They're not closed off to the residents that pay for the upkeep and maintenance of them. And so a lot of them sometimes get trashed by outside residents, and that really upsets people because you're paying HOA fees for it. So that's another thing that you're going to have to deal with if you move into an HOA community. Fines and penalties. Of course, if you violate the HOA or you continue to do things that are not within the HOA rules, they usually send you a letter to warn you a couple of times, and then if you do not comply, they can fine you. And in extreme cases, they can and will put a lien on your house, like they did for the couple feeding the Bridgeland ducks. This is all to say that if you're building a new construction in the Houston area, make sure that you understand the rules and the regulation and the HOA before you sign a new build contract. Each one will vary a little bit, but it's super important to at least know the rules and guidelines and what you can expect and what the fees are, what the rules are around making changes to your house before you go with a new build. Please, if you live in an HOA right now in the Houston area, please share your comments down below. If you think they enhance the community, if you think they are not good for the community, I want to hear your thoughts and experiences with the HOA as well. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.